I'm often asked, Dave, if as a card collecting enthusiast and as a podcast host, if you were to compare yourself to one of the villains in the Rocky movies, which one do you feel most kinship towards? And I get this question often. Would it be Apollo, whose sharp understanding of race and society and business acumen I've also modeled myself after, but I say no. Would it be Drago? Fierce, win at all costs attitude under the thumb of that smoking hot 80s heartthrob Brigitte Nielsen and the Politburo? Also, would it be Tommy Gunn? Well, truth is, I barely remember the contours of Tommy Gunn. I just know that the man was not loyal to Rocky, which makes him absolutely not somebody I'd want to emulate, which makes it absolutely positively certain that if I was a Rocky villain as a podcast host, I would be none other than Clubber Lang. I mean, he is the best of the best of the best. Remember the pull-ups by his fingertips on the rebar? Remember how he took over Rocky's press conference, that great brown suede jacket? I like a nice suede coat. Would it be his feathered earrings or his gold chains? No, I mean, yes. I mean, who doesn't love a feathered earring? But the real reason that I liken myself to Clubber Lang is like Clubber, who so famously said, I train alone, I win the title alone. I most often prefer to bring these podcasts to you by myself, solo down here in my cave. Like Clubber, I train alone, I win the title alone. But on occasion, it is my pleasure to welcome somebody into the cave. And today is one of those days. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the show Matthew, 1956 Tops Guy on Instagram. Welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast Season 2, Cards Against Time, Episode 20, National Withdrawal. Matthew, it is so good to have you back. It's great to see you. I'm going to turn it over to you and take it away.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Dave. Okay. Yeah, thanks so much for having me, dude. I think we've talked about this before, but I listen to a fair amount of hobby podcasts. I went through a little lull, which we'll get to, but I do listen to a lot of hobby podcasts, and I love listening to you, and because I listen to so many, I listen to them at fat like 1.4x or whatever to get through them. But with you, especially with the ones that you've been doing lately, it's like, okay, I need to be on 1x here. Nice. I need to experience this fully. So I'm super glad to be here sharing some time with you talking about cards. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Oh man, I've been looking forward to this for a while. So one of the things we talked about is I think a lot of our listeners already know who you are, know you from principally, I think, an amazing collector, first and most, thoughtful, reflective, intentional collector. They've seen your cards on Instagram. But rather than telling us about you, I invited you to show a few cards that really get inside a little bit more about you and who you are as a collector.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. So let's see. So I got three cards that kind of, big pieces of how I collect or how I think of myself as a collector. So first card I'm going to pop up here is 1956 Topps Roberto Clemente. And so, I'm the 1956 Topps guy, right? My return to collecting in 2005 kind of started with a perusal of eBay in search of potential birthday gift ideas. And in the course of doing that, I just was really trying to say what cards look the coolest to me, and I could flash back to being a kid and seeing cards like this Clemente is just a stunner, and some of the things aside from being 1956 Topps card, it's also his second year card, right? Mm-hmm. So most people think of the 55 Clemente as the Clemente to have, but I really try to let my collecting not be driven by like the rookie card of it all. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like the
Mm-hmm.
that's the card you have to have. I really try to let like I really try to let like the image like speak to me. You know what like hits me the hardest, and like
Yeah.
56 tops with it being the last set that was not a photograph, right? So you have these wonderful artist embellishments. And the Clemente card is super cool, right? He's up there like jumping against the wall to catch the ball. So, that's a piece of it. Another piece of it is you can see like it's a really nice example. Like this looks
Mm-hmm.
like it's a six, it's PSA 6. Really nice centering, really sharp corners. And I was, I've always been a person who's trying to like, get the nice example, get the high eye appeal example for the
Sure.
grade. And that was certainly more enjoyable in the days before, it was like exorbitant fees. They were exorbitant just to like, compete with all these people for these high eye appeal cards. Before it was
Yeah.
just like, oh, it's a 6. I can get it for the price of a 6, but it looks like an 8. That sounds awesome. So,
It's
you know,
it's long gone. I think it's actually gotten
yeah.
to the point where now people are significantly overpaying on eye appeal, not understanding that there still are plenty like that out there on almost every card. Occasionally, like a Gibson 59. Okay, there's plenty of Center 56 Clementes. Yeah, that's such a
Yeah.
gorgeous example, though. I love it. Whiteback, grayback.
This is a whiteback. And
That
so
looks nice. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's nice in the, below card like 181, they're kind of like equal in population.
Yeah.
Um yeah, but this one is a whiteback Clemente. So that's
Oh
one. So
man,
that's kind of
gorgeous. That's a
yeah,
great intro.
thanks.
All right, one
Yeah,
56
perfect.
Clemente. I love
Yeah.
leaping against the fence. Ah,
Yeah, awesome. Okay, second card here is a modern card. So
okay.
this
Give me a
is a
little angle. Like, give me there, oh, there you go. Now I get the shine. There you go. Right there. It's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
what do you
so
got there?
this is a 2017 Top Stadium Club. So I'm a Cubs collector, right? I'm a
Hmm.
big 2016 Cubs collector. If you're a Cubs collector and you collect that team, there is no better set than 2017 Top Stadium Club,
Mm.
because a lot of the images, like this one of Ben Zobrist, are from the World Series. So this is
Ah.
right after he hit the game-winning hit right in the top of the 10th, and he's
Mm.
at second base. He just threw his helmet off.
Mm.
He's got his arms up. So the image is outstanding. Secondly, Top Stadium Club. I don't know if this is a parallel they still make, but as you said, right, this one's shiny, right? So it has kind
Yeah.
of a refractory finish, but it's the rainbow foil
Yeah. Yeah.
parallel. These are out of
Yeah.
25. So they're like not that easy to find, and I'm trying to build up. I'm actually trying to collect like any of the Cubs from that team, spanning Stadium Club from like 2016 all the way to 2022 or so.
I love
Looking
it.
for these rainbows. They're
I
really
love
cool.
it.
Yeah, yeah, super
Probably
cool.
coveted by fellow Cubs collectors.
Yeah,
But that's
exactly,
fun. I mean, I'm
exactly.
Giants collectors. Yeah. That's a
Yeah. So,
great card, and he was an awesome Cub. And his
oh
tenure, he
yeah,
played for other teams, but he was a good baseball player.
yeah. I
Smoking
mean,
hot wife, as I remember too.
I think she was like a country singer. She ended up like
Yes.
hosing him. I don't
Oh,
think they're together anymore. Yeah, I think he got like,
sorry, Ben.
yeah, sorry, Ben, but yeah, he could play all these different positions, right? Clutch
Yeah,
guy, and
good in
obviously,
fantasy. I remember because you could always get
yeah,
him in the lineup. Yeah,
yeah, he could put him anywhere. Yeah,
yeah,
so that's second one. So
nice.
2016 Cubs, um, and then the last one is collect a lot of like classic vintage, right?
Yeah,
So
of
here's one
course.
of my favorite classic vintage cars, which is a 1933 DeLong Lou Gehrig in a PSA 2.
Uh,
So this card is just like, it's one of my favorites. I love Gehrig. I love his story, and this card is just a monster. It's one of my favorites in my whole collection. Just awesome.
Godzilla. So I remember when you acquired it. I remembered how you came. Will you tell the story of how you came? Because it's a significant card. Even before it was post first boom, but on the way
Yeah,
into the second boom when you
yeah,
got it. But I
yeah.
remember there was sort of an opportunity and that you were able to leverage towards that card.
Yeah, so what happened? The basic story is that I was, I also collect like kind of what I call like the first integrators, right? The first African Americans in baseball, and I was really interested in these 1974 Laughlin old time Black Stars card, which were like these kind of cartoony cards that came out in the 70s.
Yeah.
I
Oh
bought
yeah.
like a set raw off of eBay. It actually came to me just like kind of like the person had like kind of loosely made like a kind of a box around with some paper just around the cards, and they were just
Oh,
they weren't in sleeves or
stressful. Yeah,
anything.
stressful.
Yeah, so like I got it, and I was like, oh my god, right? I'm taking them out. Ended up grading them all, and like shockingly, like a lot of them came back like very high grade. Like there were some
Nice.
nines in there. The
Oof.
Gibson, Josh Gibson, which is kind of the best card in
Yeah.
the set, was an 8.
Yeah.
Big cards, and then like these cards came, and it was like immediately I was like, I don't do a lot of registry things, but I was like, I know that's where a lot of these collectors are, so I'm gonna put them on the registry. Soon enough, those guys started pinging me to try to like sell the
Wow.
cards. Then I saw Ash, who I've gotten a lot of my best cards from,
Yeah. Your
including this,
mantle, I know.
including the mantle, the Scarrig. I saw that he had one of this Garrick for sale, and I'm like, oh man, there's an opportunity here if I can just sell these Negro League cards to move into the Garrick. And then right around that time is when Major League Baseball decided to, like, statistically they would allow the Negro League players
Yep.
their stats to count as Major League stats. So suddenly
Yep.
there was like all of these registry guys who were collect like top all time batting average, or these kinds of things, which was Cobb, and then it became Gibson, right? Suddenly these
Hmm.
cards became like super hot commodities. And so I just rode that wave. I sold some of them before that statistics thing happened. In fact, one of them was the Gibson. Unfortunately, whatever,
It's all
things
right.
happen. But I was
Yeah.
able to use that to sell all of those cards, and then boom, move into the
Ah.
33 DeLong Gehrig. So it's like,
Uh,
I do wish I had one of those sets back, but I also know that, like, it's in the hobby there. When opportunities present themselves, you got to kind of pounce, right? And I was like,
yeah.
I don't know if I'll get another shot. And this is a
No.
2, but it's like a really nice 2, like no
It's an
creasing, just rounded corners.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, run over by a truck PSA one, you can't find one for under like 6 grand
yeah, yeah,
for an ugly
exactly.
one. Yeah. No, I love
Yeah,
that. I love that car. My buddy West Coast Jewish Chris has a PSA 1.5 that he's had
mm,
forever. I remember going to his
nice.
house and him showing it to me, and just if I've never held it long, like I highly recommend it. They're very different from other cards. They're significantly smaller than they kind of look when you
Mm-hmm.
see them on eBay. There's a
Mm-hmm.
delicateness too. I love the contrast, the yellow, green, and the black and white. I have a Lefty Gomez that I bought
Nice.
raw off Net 54, and I subbed to SGC, and I love that card. Which brings me back. I have a card to show.
Nice.
Certainly, I hate to go from a 33 to long Lou Gehrig to the card I'm about to show you, but on the screen is a 1985 Topps Mark Davis with a ballpoint pen in-person autograph that I got before a Giants game at Candlestick when I was a teenager.
Oh, dude.
And I was, we were talking, let's show a few cards. This card is not one that I've ever talked about before, but for a while there, I was going to Giants games with, just like you did when you were a kid, with a stack of
Mm-hmm.
cards
Mm-hmm.
and a pen. And this was one of the times I had a ballpoint. So Mark Davis was terrible for the Giants. I think one year he lost 7. Yeah, he came off an 84 season when he went 5-17. He was terrible as a starter for the Giants, but then he went to San Diego and won a Cy Young Award as a closer. So there's someone out there going, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's got a ballpoint pen, hard signed Mark Davis. I collect the NL Cy Young Award winners with on card autos. I got to get in touch with Dave. If you reach out to me and you collect them, it'd be my pleasure to give this to you as a gift. Until then,
Nice.
it's a nice memory of childhood. Just it's what it's all about for me. That just wants to take plug back into that feeling, that timelessness. Nostalgia is such a powerful drug. We can't ever go back in. We can go back to place, but we can't go back to time.
Mm-hmm.
And but these are sort of like teleportals that take us to feelings.
Yeah,
And
they really do. And that's
yeah,
what you're
I
trying
just
to
think it's
recapture, right? I feel
yeah,
like that's really what you're trying to get, is like that feeling that you had, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So this is the Saturday of the National, and you and I we had corresponded on IG for a good while, and then we met in person for the first time at the National in 2023 in Chicago,
Yeah,
I
that's right.
remember. And 2023, we were post COVID. We were definitely before this boom. I don't remember it being a huge lull, but it was
Mm-hmm.
sort of in between the hysteria.
Yeah.
So our original connection is there in person in 2023 at the National, and the National is going on right now. This is that Saturday, which is its own personality. I just love to I would just love to hear from you, your thoughts on the National then and now, and just where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny feeling, right? Because as a collector, it's definitely like the Super Bowl, right? It's like the biggest event. It's personally, it's overwhelming, right? It's just so big. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around, right? And it really it's so big too that you really feel like the limitations of like being like a physical person, in the sense that like to like see all of the cards is might be strictly impossible.
Yeah.
And you have to just navigating all of the mass of humanity to just look at these cases, right? It's like it's crazy. So like I feel like if you're just a person who like loves cards, it's a thing that everyone you need to experience going there, because it's just a total different vibe than like what you think of as a card show, which is like I think of card shows as like when I was a kid and I would go to the Holiday Inn, and it was like
Mhm.
you're just like you're like in this weird big room like with a bunch of rando nerds, looking at all these pictures. But there it's just like it's just the humanity. It's just
Wow.
huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so it's definitely something you got to experience. But I feel like I don't know, like in my collecting journey, like a lot of it has been like going back to your Clubber Lang thing. Like a lot of it has been it's a very personal, like individual journey for me.
Yeah.
Like that's how I try to approach it, and I try to, I really try hard to let the hobby exercise the part of my brain that's not like the logical mathematical side, because like
Mm.
my job is a physicist, right? So I'm in that part of my brain all the time, and I really try to use the hobby to expose the like just look at an image, how does it make you feel, like the kind of
Yeah.
like classic like art class, architecture class you would think about, right? And
Yeah.
like yeah, and like you made that awesome video, I think, towards the end of your previous episodic series, which was about you had that fantastic quote from Beauregard, I think. It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
um, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but it's like cards are this like this portal. They're a time machine, right?
Yeah.
And so like and I think I stole like your audio and made a video where I just like showed a bunch of
Yeah.
cards just in kind of like
It
random
was a
time
great
order.
reel, actually.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
really
yeah.
fun.
And so the quote talks about how they are a portal backwards and forwards, and in their way they transcend death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep going. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's how I feel about like that's at the very root of like my connection to cards. And so I feel like at a place like the National, it's like it's not that. It's a very like it's so much not that, right? Because
Understated. Right.
I do love like the opportunity to like meet my card buddies, like that I met you for the first time in
Yeah.
person there, and like
Yeah.
there's gonna be how likely is it that you would have all of your like Instagram internet card people like all in one place, like
Yeah.
that part of it's amazing, right? And but it's always been a challenge for me because I think I am a pretty introverted person, right? And I'm also, when it comes to cards, I think I'm pretty slow. Like I take things pretty slow. I think a lot about the cards that I want to add, and like I ponder a lot about like what example and all of this kinds of thing. And the National is the opposite of that.
I
The
want to I want
National,
to ask a
yeah,
question.
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
ask a question. I'm sorry, but I don't want to lose this thought. So we're going to go back to the National being the opposite of
Hmm.
that because 100% agree. I want to just go back to the word slow in the
Hmm.
hobby, which is so anathema, which where I think
Yeah.
you are going to today's hobby. when you're in that place of slow, how do you manage the feeling of missing the example that you ultimately would want?
I mean, I do and I don't, right? I think that it's hard because there is so much. There's so many places where cards can appear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
can't have your eyes everywhere.
Mm-mm.
And actually, I think I do love it. I mean, that's one of the aspects of like having buddies, in the hobby who kind of know, who kind of are pretty well aligned to what you like and kind of know
Yeah.
what you're chasing. So that then you kind of multiply the number of eyes that you have. So
Yeah.
that then but you're always going to miss things.
Yeah.
There are
So
always
you're
going to be
okay with it.
cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a thing too. That like if you're, I think I'm a pretty high anxiety, like a pretty high stress person, or I can be, right?
Yeah.
And I try to, and that's the thing is I try to use cards to not do that. I try to use cards to just enjoy what I'm seeing, be in the moment, and
Right.
it's like I really try to have guardrails mentally to avoid going down the oh shoot, like there was that like this 1955 Jackie 2.5 that was just perfect and I missed it and I'm going to beat myself up because I'm going to keep looking at the eBay and just stare at the fact that it ended and it says that you didn't win, and like that part of the hobby is like, it's just growing pains, right? Just like learning how
Yeah.
to deal with it, but it's hard. It's not
Yeah.
easy, right?
Oh, so well said. So talk about the hobby now, like this weekend in Chicago that we were going there.
Yeah, it's just mixed emotions, because like I'm consuming stuff on Instagram. I'm seeing like lots of cool cards, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I was there. And then I see a video with just like a crap ton of people, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so glad I'm not there,
Ugh.
right? And I mean, actually, like like last year's national was a bit of a turning point for me. So it was only the second national that I ever attended. I have the benefit of when it's in Chicago, that's where my family's from. So I can like stay with my mom. It does present some like, want to spend some time with mom, want to spend some time at the show. So some
Mhm.
like conflict of how I'm spending my time. But I really came to the realization that it's just not for me. It's actually like as much as I love seeing my buddies,
Mhm.
it's a very hard place for me to be mentally. And so like, you know, you're right. You just have to imagine it's like whatever, like 5 days of like nonstop cards all the time, and and for me, like it's just my pace of collecting and the fact that there's like specific cards and like specific eye appeal that I'm looking
Mhm.
for,
Mhm.
and the fact that in order to find those, it's basically like you're just running, or there's no sensible way to go about, because
Yeah.
it's like someone took all the cards in the world and they threw them up in the air randomly, and then they just landed, and then you're basically like behind a gate, and then suddenly the gates open and you just have to run in there like it's you know um kids with candy coming out of the whatever,
Pinata.
yeah, the
It's like
pinata.
a
It's
pinata.
basically
That's a
like,
great analogy.
yeah, and then if you know people or you spend extra money, you can get like a
Yeah.
dealer badge and get in there earlier, so you're
Yeah.
ahead of the other
Yeah.
kids. And
Yeah.
so like it turns my slow, deliberate hobby into like a rat race. Basically,
Mhm.
that's how I
Mhm.
I know that isn't true for everyone, but that's just my experience of it. Is
Yeah.
that it's just kind of an exhausting rat race. And so like at the national last year, I actually spent most of my time just hanging out at the card ladder booth because I could
Nice.
sit down. I could in a
Nice.
comfortable seat. I could have like a conversation with other smart people in the hobby. But
Nice.
that part was fun. But I can tell you that it's just sitting there and just being in the space. I just had these constant pangs of like, you're missing out. There are
Mm.
cards out there that would be awesome for you. You just have to go find them. And so then I would get my backpack and like go out there, vanish off into the
Sure.
wilderness, and I would like, I would just come back with like stress and like the anxiety of like, oh, I didn't find this, or just the endless supply of cards I don't care about, right? And
Yeah.
it's just it's mentally exhausting, right?
It's mentally exhausting. It's interesting. Twice
Yeah,
you said mentally and didn't even talk
yeah,
about how physically exhausting it is,
yeah,
but it is your brain, it's just overstimulated and overwhelmed.
yeah,
And I'm thinking about when you were sitting, on a couch at the card ladder booth. Um, dopamine is the anticipation of the thing. It's not the thing.
Yeah.
That's why we keep pressing. Oh, the blue dot on my
Yeah.
eBay save search. It's not anything I want, but it's the rush. Is maybe it's this time. It's that feeling of missing out. That was the
Hmm.
dopamine in your system going. I got to do. I'm right here, and then whatever
Hmm.
stories you tell yourself. I honestly think what you just said. You speak for a lot of people. I think a lot of people like I don't want this to be a job. And I
Yeah.
hate that
Yeah.
feeling of like responsibility of like I gotta do this and or I'm gonna
Hmm.
fall behind in that. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what I done. That's a treadmill I don't want anything to do with. I love cards. I love
Yeah.
them, man. I love playing with them. I love
Yeah. Yeah.
researching. I love the learning experience. But it's something I do in my leisure time for pleasure.
Yeah.
And if it's
Yeah.
consuming me, either if it's interfering with my personal life or my professional life, or it starts to feel like work, uh, I don't want anything to do with it. Last year when I came out to California, it really wasn't even an option. And it kind of gave me the out of having to process the feelings I had last year, which were
Hmm.
not dissimilar. I was quite ambivalent last year for some of those same reasons. I didn't like the way it was like the way it felt.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And then this year, because I was more settled, honestly, it was never even a consideration for me. And
Hmm.
because I was clear about my feelings, I have to say, like I got the Love of the Game catalog last night, and they time it kind of mid auction, which I think is really
Mm.
really smart. Because if I had it too early, I'd like move on to something else.
Yeah.
Um, and sitting down with a catalog and having the analog experience of looking through it, it was marvelous. There was something about it was limited. It wasn't wherever
Hmm.
my thoughts went, I would go there. It was like, stay with this card, read the really well written descriptions. It was a very nice experience. I learned a lot about the die cut cob.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
Al writes,
nice.
yeah, and Al writes a really nice letter at the beginning, like a welcome letter in each issue. It's quite well done, and I really enjoyed it. Which goes into Olbermann, writes a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I just was like putting the two in
Juxtaposing.
juxtaposition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the two, and like I kind of like this analog. Um, you're not missing anything.
Yeah. I mean, it
You're here.
really. Yeah, and like it's a slow burn, this hobby in general,
Hmm.
right? Like I think about, I'm 45, right? I collected as a kid. Like a lot of the cards I'm drawn to are, well before I was born, like, cards that my grandparents basically
Yeah.
would kind of collect, right? And it's when you've been in the hobby for a while, you just see like the arc of it, right? And like it's so easy to get fixated upon like, oh, PSA did this thing, and I
Ugh.
often and oftentimes the question I ask myself when I'm collecting, like, in terms of what cards I'm interested in, is like, in 5 or 10 years, am I going to care about this?
Great
And
question.
right, and so like there are things that happen that are just throwaway things that you will not care about them at all in 5 years. So like it's not worth spending your time on them now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's an amazing question. It's along the lines of the question of, what's the destination of this card?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
can I see myself selling this card? Well, if you can see yourself selling the card in or whatever window time you want to give yourself, time frame you want to give yourself, then you probably shouldn't even buy it to begin with.
Hmm.
Um, and also like going back to that work thing, the sort of the responsibility of, oh, this card is going up, I should buy it now and sell
Hmm.
it for more. And I'm like, wait, like actually that's not the hobby to me. I got nothing against, I'm a capitalist, got
Hmm.
nothing
Yeah.
against making a profit, but it just feels like I only have so much time to hobby. And if I want to spend my time like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
this car I should buy it because it's going up, like I just, by the time you pay eBay and you pay the consigner, like your profit margin is
Hmm.
pretty small. And what's your time worth? Anyway,
Yeah.
so
No, I
so
think about that a
yeah,
lot. Yeah.
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 I wanted to ask about. So I know I've just kind of, as a friend and also someone who's in the same kind of general part of our hobby universe as you, I noticed that, kind of in the past year or so, you took sort of a small, quiet step back. You may have mentioned it once on
Hmm.
IG when you started to do it, but you've sort of been keeping a low profile. I would love to hear what it's been like for you to have that lower profile and where you at. Where are you at now?
Yeah, this is a great question. So it was very intentional, right? Part of it was that I had accepted a new job, which then required me to move, not a
Okay.
significant distance, but required me to like, we had to move our house, buy a new house, all this kind of stuff. And so then I was like, okay, my hobby time is going to be pretty limited. Um, and then some other things were that I the time that I had at last year's national, the fact that I was like, okay, going into that national, I knew I wasn't going to be buying any big cards because this transition was going to happen, right? And so I didn't want to be spending a lot of money. But then, the fact that I was kind of deliberately putting myself kind of into like low mode, in terms of hobby participation, it did afford me the opportunity to kind of reflect back on my collecting, thinking about and these big life changes, like, hey, I'm going to buy this new house, like I need money, right, to afford a down payment, like kind of then allowed me to put the hobby in a little bit of a different perspective, right. And so some of the things that happened where I decided to move a bunch of cards, some pretty big ones and some pretty good ones.
Some beautiful ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them
I
that are
remember.
thankfully
Yeah.
in like some nice collections,
Yeah.
like
Nate, I
Nate and
know.
Jonathan have some
Yeah.
of them. But some of them I sold. I actually sent like all of my best cards, like including that the DeLong Gehrig, including the mantle, right, my 52 mantle. I sent them all to Fanatics. With the expectation, like I might need to sell these, right? We were moving to Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara is one of the
Uh-huh.
most expensive places in the
Sure.
country, right?
Sure.
So I'm like, I might have to sell these to like, and that was a real thing, right? And then I did end up selling a lot of them. I sold like the
Yeah.
biggest card I think I sold was my autographed chronology Michael Jordan card. That's a really big card,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
probably
a big
worth
card.
God knows what right now, right? But that's how it goes.
It's how it
Um,
goes.
but then I was also like, just my wife would, when I would come back from when I came back from the national, she was kind of asking me, how did it go and did you have fun? And I was like, yeah, not really. No,
Mm.
I didn't really have fun. And she's really good at asking me questions that like put me in a place to kind of reflect and like think about, like unpack it, right? Like why is it,
Mhm.
right? And some of it was thinking about just the whole, the being overwhelmed, the over mental stimulation of it all. And one thing that happened that really kind of caught me by surprise a little bit was that, I ended up feeling like a lot of like envy over people who were finding good cards, right? And the
Mm.
cards that they were finding. And I was feeling so like, frustrated that I couldn't do that. And um, it actually took me back to, I was like, why am I feeling bad about myself
Totally,
for
totally.
like not finding this or that card? Like it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it actually like took me back to a memory I had from when I was in college. So when I was in college, this would have been the early 2000s. This game called Diablo 2 came out, which was like one of these massively multiplayer games. But anyway, it was one of these games where you have a character. It's a role playing game, right? You have your character, and you got to try to like make your character better through fighting these demons or whatever. And part of the game too was like when you killed one of these demons, like they would like dispense randomly like objects that you could, like swords or whatever, to make your
Okay.
character better, right? And so like me and my buddies, we would like come back from class and we would just jam on this game, and we would be trying to make our characters better. And then like one day, like my friend, like he finds like this sword. I remember it was called the Grandfather.
The
This sword, the
grandfather.
Grandfather, and it was like a sword that like made his character like really powerful, right? And it
Okay.
was a very rare this sword, and I remember being like, oh man, how did he do that? Like I need to like. I'm so like I wish I had that sword, and like maybe I need to go and like play the game more. And then I had this moment where I'm like, what am I doing? Who
Uh,
cares about this sword? Like
yeah.
the fact that I was having like human feelings of like anxiety and stress and maybe
Oh,
jealousy about like an
uh-huh.
object that like wasn't even real. In
Yeah.
5 years, was I going to care that I had or did not have the Grandfather sword in this game? And the answer was
Yeah.
obviously no. I'm not going to care about it.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I'm like, dude, I'm in too deep. I
Uh-huh.
need to extract myself from this. I don't know if I would call it addiction, but it was just like it was taking over a lot of my mental energy
Oh
thinking about something
yeah.
that like literally does not matter. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
I was reflecting back on the National, and I was like, that I had that same feeling. Like these are, they're physical objects. At least they have that going for them. But still, like I'm feeling bad. Like I'm making
Yeah.
myself feel bad about this thing that's supposed to be like my escape from
Right.
the stress and
Right.
like my special place. Like what am I
Right.
doing? I've got some switches that are flipped here, man. I gotta take a step out, right?
Right
And
on.
so it was kind of that combination of like necessity. Hey, I might need to sell a bunch of cards, but also just being like, whoa, like that was you crept into like a dark place and you didn't
Mm.
know it, right? And
Mm.
it really took my wife kind of asking me to process my feelings to kind of like turn the flashlight on and look around and be like, oh man, this is not a good place to be in, right? Look where I've got
Mm.
myself. um, and
Grandfather
so
sword territory.
grandfather sword territory, man, got to get out. So I was like,
Mm.
okay, I'm taking some serious step backs. And so, I just stopped kind of buying cards. I sold a bunch of cards. I was still like loath to sell. Like, I had a ranked order of what I was willing to sell, right? And
Of
like,
course you did.
really push come to shove, I really have to go through something rough to sell the mantle and things like that, right? But it did, afford me the time and space to kind of rethink about things, right? And so maybe earlier this calendar year, so that was kind of like maybe August really through December of last year, I was very light in Hobbyland.
Mm-hmm.
Then kind of start of this year, we kind of sold our previous house. Some stress started, coming down a little bit from the new job and all of that. And then I started, you know, picking up some cards again, some stuff that I had sold, but also starting to pick up some new directions. Like I really got into those rainbow Cubs cards, right? Because
Yeah.
they're cheaper, right? It's kind of, and they're also like a
Yeah.
chase, like you can't. It's hard to find them, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's almost like
Um,
I don't know if I want a card if I can just go buy the card.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
hundred
Yeah.
percent, right? And so I've been slowly kind of creeping in. I just had my first two like Instagram posts, and since the national last year, just these past like 2 weeks or so. So I'm picking up some cards, picked up some bigger cards lately.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to kind of get back in it. But I'm telling you that I'm really trying to put on some more mental guardrails
Mm-hmm.
about my engagement, just to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that I'm staying in the kind of happy place of the hobby. And there was one other story I told you earlier that I think is worth telling here, which was like when I was in my darkest, like, okay, I want to put the hobby on the side kind of moment. I had this weird interaction where I came home from work one day. I'm parking my car outside of where we live, and I just see this kid just on the sidewalk with a little cardboard sign. Like, he's probably like 8 to 10 years old. I come up, I get close enough that I can see the sign, and the sign says like baseball cards for
Mm-hmm.
sale. And this is not a busy sidewalk, and we're
Mm-hmm.
in the Riviera in Santa Barbara. There's like nobody around, and so I'm
Yeah.
like, "Hey man, how's it going? What's going on here?" Right? And he's like telling me that he's a card collector and he's selling packs. So he's taking like cards that he doesn't want, I guess, and
Mystery.
bundled them up in a little piece of paper. It was fun. It was awesome. It had like baseball cards just in crayon, like
Nice.
$2 a pack or whatever. I'm like, I'll take a pack, dude. Let me see what you got here.
Yeah.
And then
Did you pull anything?
no, it was just random. What was so funny actually was that one of the cards had like he had pressed so hard with the crayon that it had indented the card, the back of the card. It was hilarious.
That's
It
awesome.
was like 2024 tops, something like that. It was
Love
so
it.
awesome. But like this kid like being out there, he's like that's his hobby participation at this moment in time,
Yeah.
right? He's
Yeah.
like, I'm out on the street. My
I love
grandparents are
it.
watching me from the window, make sure I don't get into trouble. Ended up like giving him a 91 Provisions Michael Jordan because I was like, you got any
Ah,
Jordan cards? He's like, no, I'd love a Jordan card. I'm like, dude, here's a Jordan card. Here you go. And
way to stoke him.
he was so jazzed, and like seeing how excited he was about a card that, and I bought that card I think at the National for $5 or something like
Mm.
that. Kind of really rekindled a little bit of my love for the hobby, because he was approaching it from the place of like pure innocence, that place that a lot of us aspire to go back to when we're collecting cards, is like our first interactions with it. And so that was that was a little bit of a turning point too, of being like, okay, I'm gonna get myself back into this thing, but I'm gonna be careful, right? And so it's very possible I'll slip back into that space. I do know that, like, keeping myself like away from the National is one way to kind of help preserve my love of the hobby, and kind of keep me in the part of it that I like. Yeah.
I think what you were talking about, just that honesty and that vulnerability about kind of where you were and what you went through. I think a lot of people listening, I think that's going to resonate with people, right? I call it the game inside the game, right? This inner journey that we're on, and just being able to share like that part of the journey. We don't ever talk about that. Everything's like the big and the loud, but not actually like what the real feelings are. And I think it's really important as like this hobby continues to mature in this next wave, because right now what seems to be sort of winning out is a breathlessness that, I mean, I come from a poker playing family, right? And my family, like, if you didn't know who the sucker was at the table, you were quite clearly the sucker. And so I carry that as a collector. When I see just the noise, the casino slot machine, I'll be really honest. I think it's deeply infected is not really the word I want, but it's strongly influenced the vintage side of the hobby too. The the breathless, the race, the I'm gonna miss out, the force multiplier of a little bumper sticker on a. It's people are just behaving in irrational ways, the fear of missing out. I don't think it can go on indefinitely. Not saying one thing or the other with the prices, but the human being is not meant to move with this kind of rapidity and kind of intensity without consequences, without repercussions.
Yeah, I mean, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because it definitely. I mean, I've said this for a while, but like, this hobby consumes its young, right? It
Mm-hmm.
absolutely does. And
That's a
and
good
and the
one.
hope is that as people kind of go through that kind of brutal entrance of
Yeah.
just like, basically, people just preying on you.
Yeah.
The hope is
Yeah.
that they find the part of the hobby that really is that connection, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
allows them to like exercise the higher levels of Pavlov's hierarchy of human needs, right? And you're
Yeah.
not just like in the rat race in the bottom, like just scrambling
Yeah.
for this or that, but you're like trying to see like, what is the part of this thing that like makes me feel good, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of my principles that I try to guide my collecting with is to be a part of the card collecting community, but stand apart from the hobby. Right? And the hobby is like the hobby's telling me what I should be doing, telling me how and who I should collect. I don't want to. I don't want that. And so good for you for stepping back. Something I really also I really admire about that, because I wrestle with the question. What would be gained and what would be lost if I went completely silent?
Yeah.
I think some of the inner peace, some of the quiet, some of the calm, some of the patience. I think a lot of those things would be rediscovered for myself. And what would be lost is a buddy like you,
Yeah.
is all the fun conversation on IG, just you know, it's a social hobby as well. So I would miss that, but some of the internal stuff I think I would appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's well
Uh,
said.
yeah, I would if you're up for it. I would love to see if you have any mail days. I pulled out a few. I would love to see
Sure.
if there's anything you feel like sharing.
Yeah, I've got some fun ones here. Some of these are kind of bigger boppers actually, but I like to
Hop
share them.
away.
So here's a really cool one. So
Oh.
this is a 1951 Bowman Ted Williams
Hmm.
with an in-person autograph in ballpoint pen.
Look where he signed that.
Yeah, and it's a cool card. I've always
Wow.
loved the design of this card.
Oh God, yeah. 51 Bowman Williams is beautiful. He has some great
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah, and his look at that signature. Like his
Yeah, there
signature
you
is
go. Hold it right there.
amazing.
Perfect. Yep, yep. Such a great
Yeah,
signature. That T,
yeah,
he signed it in such a good spot. It's going up the card, slight vertical, beautiful. Slight
like
diagonal.
on
It's a
his jersey.
beautiful signature. So where'd you
Yeah.
get that?
Okay, so one of the cards I sold in the great sell-off to buy the house was a really nice 1950 Bowman,
Mm-hmm.
Ted Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And these cards are hard to find centered and well
Yeah.
registered, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like I was like, okay, that's a card I want to get back. But maybe I'll change up what form it was. And also, I had seen this card. My buddy Pat, who's
Hmm.
at PLB Cards
Oh,
on
nice
Instagram.
collector.
Yeah, great collector, great guy. I had told him like, dude, that Williams is insane. If anything ever happens that you need to sell that card, you need to let me know. And so
Nice.
he had just come into a situation where he was moving into a really big, awesome card, and he was like, "Hey, the Williams is available," and
Mm.
it was definitely pretty steep. But I don't know if there's a better signed Williams from. There's only like 20 of these, I think. But
Wow.
the quality of the signature, the quality of the card is just insane. So
Beautiful.
that's a really fun mail
Beautiful.
day.
I love ballpoint. So we don't know
Yeah.
definitively if that's plain days, but
Hmm.
it's not Sharpie. I
Yeah.
I cannot stand Sharpie signatures on vintage baseball cards, vintage cards, period. They feel like it's so anachronistic. They're like a gladiator wearing a wristwatch, you know? That's a
Yeah.
beautiful card, Matt.
Yeah. Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah. It's nice. It's a real nice one.
Nice.
You
Want
want
to
to
go
go?
one and one? Want to go
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
and forth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my first card I'm going to show you is I'm going to bring this up on the screen. I try to keep a collection that is like, I'm not a volume collector, but that competes with, I just love so many cards. I'm always in that tension. I'm trying to figure out my constraints to try to keep my collection manageable, focused, something that has a cohesive story. So I'll do things like well, when I created the 84 All-Star Game Master set, it was like that. It had a cohesion, there was a narrative continuity to it. Um, what's up here on the board is for those who are listening, these are the little like discs, the discs that are representative of all of the retired numbers for the Giants in New York and in San Francisco. They look just like the ones you see at Oracle Park. So you have Ott and Terry and Hubble and on and on and on. And of course, three announcers: Gil Hodges, Simmons, John Miller, and then everybody retired 42 for Jackie. And they're really beautiful. And I have it's a nice wall space, probably do it behind and above me. I want to do, the guy, I ordered him, he's building it right now. I took the liberty of asking him to also include 28 for Buster because Buster will get his number retired. Nobody else in the foreseeable future, but Buster. And I'm
Hmm.
going to do a display along, almost like my own imaginary outfield wall down here
Oh,
in the cave.
nice.
And then I want to have a single card beneath each one of the numbers to represent the player. So I'll have the number and then a card to represent it. And I just picked up this one. I got it last week. 1935 Diamond Stars Mel Ott. Um,
Nice
just love
card.
it. I think we all know the card. We know Diamond Stars. I love the Art Deco design. I love the batting stance choking up on the bat. Kind of has the
Yeah.
locks of youth, and it seems like more people love, for obvious reasons, the 33 Gaudy, the green,
Hmm.
the angry Ott. And I think it's nice, but I also have moments where I look at that card, I'm like, I hate that card, but then I'm like, I love that card. You ever have that? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so so. I was in a moment of going, I don't need, going back to what you said, very much so. I don't need I don't need the rookie card to feel complete. So I just
Hmm. Yeah.
love his
Look at the
Diamond
different
Star
colors
card.
on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's way
The
cool.
pale yellow and the green and the blue
And the
and
blue. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, it's so pretty. So that's going to be my Mel Ott representation when the retired number display goes up on the
Yeah.
wall.
I love
Okay,
it.
what do you got? Number two.
Number two. So, one card in terms of like kind of like, rebuilding some of my PC a little bit. This is a fun one. I went pre 1900. So here's
Uh,
an Allen and Ginter N28
oh my
of
God.
Mike King Kelly.
King Kelly.
It's a King Kelly. It's a PSA 2 because there's some like, there's a little bit of damage on the
Oh, my
back. You can
my
see some
favorite. Look
staining,
at the
but you can
front
still
though.
read it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
a
And the
look at
front
that,
is
looks like
just
a
insane.
5.
Yeah, it's insanely sharp. It's
What
so
year is
nice.
that again?
1887 to 1888.
Hold it up one more time.
Yeah. These are thicker cards too, actually. It's
Thicker.
interesting. Yeah, they're thick. Thick
I
paper
see a
stock.
lot with beautiful presentation for a card that's 130 something years old. Do you think the thickness has anything to do with
Yeah.
the durability?
Yeah, absolutely I do. I think I mean this thing too is like its corners are like you can cut food with
Wow.
those corners.
Alan
Yeah.
Gainer.
Yeah. So I saw this one pop up on Facebook and I'm like, "Oh, I need that."
Oh
So
man,
my
man.
yeah, that's a really
I
fun
love
one.
the laces on the front of
Oh
your
yeah.
Boston jersey.
Yeah, I love that about the old cards, seeing like
Yeah.
the different jerseys and stuff. Yeah, that's a cool
Those are
one.
really cool. A lot of the other like late 19th century, I don't care for them at all. Some of them are so
Mhm.
ugly, but about
Yeah,
that one,
this one's pretty classic. Yeah.
nice, man. That's congrats. Phew. It's one of those guys too. I know the name. I can look into his career a little bit more. I don't know much about him.
Yeah, first like real famous power hitter, I think.
Okay,
He was the $10,000 man. Back when $10,000 was a lot of money.
nice. So my second one, I just got this one also recently. This is again keeping pace with
Ooh.
what you said earlier. I felt like I was forcing myself into the 58 Cepeda, which is nice, the pose with the red background, but I just kept coming back to that. I love the 59 Cepeda a lot more. I love the design in this case, the circle with the green. I love all the lowercase font. I love the smile kind of looking off out of the corner of his eye. I just like this card so much more. And for a lower tier Hall of Famer, once you get past a rookie card, there's really no interest. Um,
Hmm.
so I was able to get a beautifully centered. This one's
Yeah, the centering is amazing.
beautiful, just a beautiful, beautiful example. And this will be under the number 30, another retired number
Hmm.
for the Giants. Um, and I couldn't be happier with both of those purchases. Do you got one more?
I got one more.
Okay.
This one's gonna be. You're gonna like this one here.
Oh,
So,
buddy, talk about
1930,
that.
1938 Gaudi, Hank Greenberg with the cartoons. Yeah,
Mm,
I mean this actually is not crazy expensive, which
yeah,
is shocking to me.
yeah,
Because it's a really cool card. I was always like, didn't know how I felt about these cards because they're kind of obviously it's
yeah,
very cartoony, right, with like
yeah.
the really big head. It reminds me of those score cards from like 1990, right, with the
I have the
big head
Griffey somewhere in the
Conseco.
binder.
Yeah, yeah, those were awesome cards, right? But these cards are really cool with the I like the little cartoons like around
Oh yeah,
right. It's got
oh
like New
yeah.
York City talking about how he's a power hitter. So yeah, I got that one just recently, and for a 2, it's like, oh man, it's really nice. It's
Beautiful,
super nice.
beautiful.
Yeah.
For those who don't know Matthew is a collector, the man needs no sticker to tell him what a card with high eye appeal looks like. In fact, you were very helpful in helping me to sort of develop my eye, and I really appreciate that. And it's funny, like I've made a solemn vow to myself that I'm never going to buy a card again unless I really love the eye appeal. It doesn't have to be. It honestly doesn't have to be perfectly centered. If it has
Hmm.
gorgeous registration and it's the only card I can afford of its kind, but if it's a card where I have a choice, like I've been fooling around with some 1965 kind of mid-grade, which are
Hmm.
super abundant, and I'm not settling at all on a card like that because
No.
it's not hard to find one. That's really cool. So I remember when you were selling off a card that I had an opportunity to buy from you was Greenberg's 35 Diamond Stars,
Hmm.
and it was a beautiful example. It was the 1956 Top Sky, eye appeal to the max. And I ended up I was disciplined though because I love the car, I love the example. It was a really nice one, but I wanted and still want his rookie, that 34 Gaudi.
Hmm.
And that's the one I'm kind of going towards right now. And not to say I didn't miss an opportunity to get a great card, but I just had to hold out for the one that I really want.
Yep.
That's such a
That's how you
weird
do it.
card. The 34 Gaudi is like you can get a beautiful, beautiful card, but it's around his head and his hat. There's always like a little bit of outer registration. I mean, PSA 8s and like or
to
wherever you are on the
yeah.
scale, whatever I cannot find one that doesn't have a little bit of kind of distortion around especially around his cap and around his
Yeah.
eyes. Do you ever notice that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of cards that kind of suffer from that kind of problem. I think the classic one for me is the T206 Cobb Bat Off
Yeah.
card. Is
Yeah, the
very
four
hard.
eyes.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, what I've noticed anyway is that like the Fanatics Eye Appeal sticker, NBA Eye Appeal sticker, do not take into account the registration. They don't. And
No.
like for me, that might be the most important aspect of the
Yeah.
card because I hate being like, oh, my eyes going crazy here. Or what's going on, right?
Oh
Yeah.
man.
So
Yeah.
registration, man, it's tough. You just gotta.
It's yeah. So
Yeah.
I gotta accept it because I honestly have never seen one, and I've looked at hundreds of examples with crystal clear
Hmm.
registration. So it's not a matter of giving up. I think it's a matter of acceptance.
Hmm. But
You know.
it does point to like one of the I think the key ways to like look at registration is like is you have to just look at a lot of examples and you find in the card those specific places
Yeah.
where your eye really is sensitive to the registration, and I think
Yeah.
using that as a way to kind of find the good ones is that's a really good strategy. Yeah, I love
Nice.
that.
That's good advice. All right. So like you are the 2016 Cubs World Champion collector, and
Yeah.
I am a hashtag even years 2010, 12, and 14 Giants collector, which is one of the most fun aspects of my collection. I have some of the super short prints and variations. Like there's some great tops opening days from that time. I don't do a lot of kind of post that 2010 to 2015 window unless it's an amazing card. But I feel like that's just me chasing a feeling that's being sold to me because they know I'm chasing a feeling. So I kind of rather hold out for the harder to find and more expensive, frequently the ones from that period. Just I think they're just cooler, and it
Hmm.
gives me the sense that those are done. Tops is going to continue to
Yeah.
pull on my heartstrings forever on those World
Yeah.
Series teams, and
Same with me, man. Yeah.
so I'm trying to be very judicious. So one I picked up like you, I'm primarily a vintage guy, although I appreciate something more modern. I do like the shiny. So my sweet spot, I think, where the two, the vintage and the modern, really hit. They have my number a lot of times with Heritage. Now, they kind of blew up Heritage and they ruined it to me. Not ruined it, I'm like
Mm.
drama queen in a couple of ways. One was so they started, I think it starts in Heritage starts in 2001. They
Yes, that's
start,
right.
yeah.
With the 52.
Have I can't. I'm not 100% sure when they start the black. I think is it 2006, 2005. Not right away.
Hmm. Yeah, it
Parallel,
wasn't right away.
parallel to the year of the set design. Uh, Prior to 2024, that it was limited. So if there were 700 cards in the set or 600, it's not exactly the full number. There would only be 100 or 150 range of black refractors. So each team got a few. In 2013, Topps Heritage started doing gold refractors. So there were no golds for the first 12. In 2013, they started doing gold refractors. Again, that same limited number of players in the checklist, not everybody. And they numbered it to five. So from 2013 through 2023, 2024, they were numbered to five. And also in that year, 2024, they started giving everybody one, not just the limited guys. 2025, they raised the number from 5 to 50. So the last couple of years, I know they want uniformity. The bottom line is no longer is it numbered out of 5, it's numbered out of 50. No longer is the checklist very small for each team. Everybody has a gold refractor. That's the bottom line. So I try to get the gold refractors and the black refractors. I've been building the black ones for a couple of years, and they're hard. No one cared about them, and now like
Hmm.
it's which is cool because they're really just
Hmm.
collected by Giants collectors.
Yeah,
But I was
exactly.
getting
Yeah.
like I got 2014, which is the 65 design. I love my favorite from the decade. Buster for about $100. I don't know, a year ago, and now it's like 350. I'm like right. So and they
Yeah.
never show up. They never show up. Like I've been looking for the 1963 design, so that was 2012. They just never show up. Anyway, my last mail day is a 2015 Topps Heritage number 25 Heritage Chrome Gold Refractor of Hunter Pence.
Oh, nice.
And like they just nail this. It's the 1966 design. They got the shiny gold. And Pence is one of my favorite Giants. He's a fan favorite, still super connected to the team. He was out in the bleachers with his shirt off the other night. There's like this tradition out in center where the guys take their shirt off. He's out there with the fans. He's still connected to the team. Just one of the great guys from that run. He came over in 2012, so he wins 2 rings. And like this is such a sweet spot for my collection. That's my last mail day to show you
That's a
today.
good one. Yeah, love like pulling in cards like that, right? That are just like they
Yeah.
never pop up, and you see when, oh
Never
my god,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just on it.
yeah,
Matthew, man, what a pleasure to catch up.
yeah. It was mad fun,
Thank
super
you.
fun, dude.
Thank you. Where can folks find you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram at 1956 Tops Guy.
1956 Tops Guy. Thank you so much. It's great to be catching up again. It's great. It's great to hear about your journey as you kind of took a small step back and to hear how you started to step forward again. The hobby is better for it. Card collectors are better for it, and I'm better for it. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.